Growing up, the women's Bible studies, it produced nothing but foolishness,
gossip,
that I saw.
And
it was just,
slander.
It was just ridiculous.
throwing the men under the bus.
Everybody get together and talk about how bad their husbands are, that kind of garbage. But so I've never seen seen it
done well.
I've never seen good fruit come out of a women's Bible study type thing.
Hi, my name's Jerry Dorris. This is Tanner Cartwright. And this is Snake on the Table. Brother, what's the snake?
All right, so this is a question we got a little while back, and it says, are women's ministries and women-led Bible studies valuable?
Some. Yes and no. You know, there's been a push here recently. I know we ran into it when the Sauvays came.
Okay.
Do you remember that with we had the war camp?
Yeah,
and
I was out of state.
Yeah, she spoke to the ladies.
Yep.
And then like Rebecca Merkel, I think, had written some stuff about basically the traditional women's ministry model was kind of pushing back against that.
Yeah.
And so it caused a little bit of tension in our church. Yeah. So I think this is helpful for us to talk about. What do you think of it?
So growing up, there was always women's Bible studies, quote unquote, and it was somebody leading a Beth Moore Bible study or something like that.
What's wrong with Beth Moore,
bro? So
Kay Arthur.
I'm not familiar with her.
Nancy DeMoss.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
She just got married though, and I don't know what her name is.
Yeah, you were out of my depth. But growing up, the women's Bible studies, it produced nothing but foolishness,
gossip,
that I saw.
And
it was just,
slander.
It was just ridiculous.
Throwing the men under the bus.
Everybody get together and talk about how bad their husbands are, that kind of garbage. But so I've never seen
seen it done well.
I've never seen good fruit come out of a women's Bible study type thing. So
I have. We have women's Bible studies that are happening at Ref Church.
Yes, and I put that in a different category from what in my mind when I think women's Bible studies, it's totally different than what's happening at Ref. So I get that. Maybe it's unfair.
And we'll explain the difference. Yes. I think it would be helpful.
So in Titus, obviously you have Titus 3.
Yeah.
Titus 3.
Probably.
I think it's Titus 3. But regardless, where Paul is saying that the older women are to teach the younger women. 2. It is Titus 2?
I'm pretty sure, dude.
Check it.
Keep going.
Okay. So regardless, it's in Titus that Paul is talking. It's in Titus 2?
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay. Is it verse 3?
Sure. Older women likewise are to be reverent in their behavior, not malicious gossips, nor enslaved to much wine, teaching what is good, so that they may encourage the young women to love their husband, love their children, to be sensible, pure, workers at home, kind, being subject to their husbands, so that the word of God will not be dishonored.
Yes, so you've got Paul's teaching. Paul is saying that older women are to teach younger women. So we have precedent from Scripture that the older women are to be teaching in some way or another.
Correct.
Now, whether that's an organized Bible study or whether he's talking about older women going into the home of younger women and teaching them, that's where I think there's been some disagreement in the Reform circles.
What I'm concerned about is the elevation of specific women to be big teachers.
Sure.
And now they have this ministry. Let's use Beth Moore as an example, where she writes curriculum. People admire her, and then she's the one leading the Bible study. She's not there, but people are going through her materials and those kind of things. And that's, I think, problematic for me.
Problematic, yeah.
I think when women are teaching theology, like systematic theology or things like that, I think bluntly those things need to be reserved for men. And so I'm all for gathering all the men and having one of the pastors come in and teach on a particular topic. I think that's pretty valuable. We've seen that happen in our own situation.
Well, and we have right there in Titus what you just read. Paul says that they should teach them what?
Certain things.
It's all pertains to their home.
Yes.
Loving their children, loving their husbands, being submissive to their husbands, all of these things, keeping a home, That's what Paul is saying they need to teach them.
And I do think there's some practical outworkings from that.
And that's all theology. There's theology
Exactly.
in all of that.
That's what I'm being curious.
Yes.
But when I say theology, I'm talking about, somebody's going to talk about the aseity of God and how we see that in the scriptures and what is systematic
divine
theology,
simplicity,
all that kind of stuff. And it's not that women are not capable or understanding those kind of things, but I think those things need to be handled by men, but these relational issues are specifically charged to women to be able to teach that.
Other
and
women,
I think there's a reason for that, and that is women are made to nurture, and they need help to do that well. They need older generations to teach that. So the content, I think, is different. It is going to be different.
Yeah.
So let's just use our example. So we do have a monthly women's gathering, and that's not for everybody. It's open to everybody, but there are women in our church that would just as soon die than go to a meeting like that, just because they don't want all the people. And there are ladies in that group that think, well, why wouldn't you want to come and be with all the ladies and that kind of stuff? And that it's this personality difference. Some women like a group, some like isolation. They don't want to do those things. They just want to be with their husband and with their family, or maybe a select girlfriend or something like that. So they're not interested in those big things. So and then,
some go because they feel obligated.
Sure,
I know for a fact, and they
let's not name names, but absolutely,
they go because they feel obligated, because they would much rather sit down with one or two people and really have an intimate conversation. And they cannot handle speaking in groups. They just can't do it. And so that's a reality. It just is what it is.
So in our context, we have designated some of our older ladies to kind of spearhead, make sure that's happening. If it's going to happen, because there's a group of women that just they want this. They love 100%. To have the big group. And they love to do women's teas and different things like that. And I say go for it. I say go for that. That's fine. And then the topics that they teach on. So we had one, what's her name? Miss Bertram. Heather Bertram. Yeah, she had breast cancer. And so she talked to all the ladies about what that experience was and the what she had learned. It's definitely theology, but it's applied practical theology of this is how I walk through that. Ladies need to hear that.
100%.
They needed to hear that.
And from her.
From her. Not from me. I mean, I can teach them certain things, and I have certain experiences in
I can teach the biblical principle, but that type of relational, this is what it was like for me, this is how I dealt with it, this is what the Lord did in me through that.
So what forum exists for someone like that to be able to communicate? And here's another thing. We've had ladies that get up and they talk about what biblical submission looks like. And why it's hard or why it's difficult. Well, to hear it taught, this is like when we preach. When we preach, people can apply it without exposing all the crap that they're dealing with and all the sin and stuff. And they go, oh, that's what I'm doing. And so they go to their husband or they go to their spouse and they say, sweetie, I missed on this. He preaches. And no big confrontation. That's the regular means.
That is how 90% of discipline in the church works.
So if that's happening, which they're correcting their teaching. So anyways, I'm not opposed to a bigger format. At times.
No. Well, and I would, those we call those those are get-togethers. I mean, we call them women fellowships.
Ladies fellowship.
It's not a Bible study per se.
No.
When all the men get together in here, we're studying Herman Bobbink. It's nitty-gritty. We fight each other. We argue. We go head to head. Women are not built like that.
They're not going to do it.
They don't want to get in a group and argue and talk theology. And
I think some women want what we've talked about, but I just can't visualize a woman smoking a pipe. I just can't.
Well, it's not even the smoking the pipe, but just the arguing theology and stuff. They can't argue and fight like men.
The harshness of it.
They cannot argue and fight like men over just these little details and still be friends.
Yes.
Women are not built like that.
No.
They don't fight and then friends. If our wives had one fight like we have had hundreds, their relationship would never be the same. we've had some fights, bro. They were just like intense,
Yeah.
me and you. And if our wives did that even one time, their relationship would never be the same.
You're right.
So they're just built different. It's not wrong to recognize that.
So let's continue to use some examples. So we don't have anything formal at Ref Church.
Yeah.
It's organic.
Yeah, other than like the war rooms or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're very much against programs.
Yes.
And so, we don't have a children's ministry. We don't have, segregated church, any of that kind of stuff. Basically, so people get together, people get together at my house for things. I know that there are some older ladies that get together and they've gone through different books and they've come to me and like, what do you think of this book, Pastor? Is this a good book for us to read together? And it's not Beth Moore. It's the history of the church.
Yeah.
And they're just walking through it, and it's a bunch of older ladies sitting around. First off, I'm not going to say no. You can't get together.
I have no problem with that.
No, it's beautiful, honestly.
It is.
And then they've invited
it.
younger ladies that have come into that. And so that's just them. And by older, I mean our septuagenarians, the older 70, 60, 80-year-olds getting together. And then I've heard organically here, some of our older ladies have been bringing young ladies in to do things like teaching them how to sew, and there's not a formality to that. One of our deacons, his wife, she regularly, they've got a big pool, and so she just has all the young ladies with kids whenever she's inviting them over to the house, and that one on two, three ladies together sitting around while kids are playing in the pool and hanging out. Do you know what? So much practical theology is communicated there. To me, I love that. And I love hearing about that. To me, that's a better.
Well, then
model.
we have young men that get together and have groups, that I'm not in or don't go to. That and they'll read a book. They came to me not long ago. We're asking like, what book should we read about the Civil War? They know I'm a little bit of a Civil War buff.
Yeah.
And so I gave them a list, and they were just going to pick one and go through it and just get together and read it and talk about it, and that was it.
Yeah. So Ref Church has a culture of hospitality.
Yes.
So I think. A lot of churches, they formalize and programatize hospitality, and when they do that, then it becomes ugly.
I think it kills it.
Yeah, it does. It actually kills real, genuine hospitality when you do that. So, there's several things that I would point to. I think that. So the question is about women led. I'm okay with women leading on certain topics and certain issues.
Other women.
Yep. Right? And they should be doing that. I'm okay with bigger groups at times. I'm really okay with smaller groups at times. I don't think we should be looking for curriculum outside of our fellowship. I'm not cool. Because most of it's not good.
Well, but it depends on what you mean by curriculum. It's like
Beth Moore.
Well, sure, but the older ladies wanting to go through a book on church history, that's outside of our fellowship. But that's not really curriculum. I get what you're saying.
Bible study. Let me narrow it down a little bit more. So Bible study. So if you're going through and you're studying a book of the Bible and you've got to have this.
If you feel like that your church needs a women's Bible study so that your women can learn theology, something's wrong. Because your women should be getting their theology from the pulpit, from their pastors.
Yes.
That's how they should be getting their theology.
So
and their husbands.
Man, this all ties together. So, and not to toot our own horn, but I know Ref Church's pulpit is theologically dense and thick. And it's being explained, and we're going through, like this coming Lord's Day, I think you're going to be talking about the biblical theology of the wind and the spirit and all that moving through. We're not up there telling jokes. We're not up there telling jokes, and it's light. It's a 50 to 55 minute,
time for that.
55-minute sermon that's going to be laid out there, and it's a big enough meat that you're going to digest that for the week.
Lord willing, yeah.
That's
then we have discipleship hour, and we go through intense topics in that, and then there's informative teaching throughout the week and stuff. But
so if you're getting rich theology, then fellowship is just around the table, around the coffee table, having people in your home, that kind of stuff. And you're talking about practical theology. It doesn't have to be programatized. It would be my argument.
Well, and I think people should mainly get their theology from their pastors, from the pulpit. That's where most theology is taught. It just is what it is. That's where you get, and so you have that, and then what does Paul say? If a wife has questions, go ask Beth more.
Yeah.
Paul says if she has questions, go ask her husband.
Yeah.
And I think what we've done is the men have abdicated, and then women have made it worse by going to people like Beth Moore or whoever, name anybody. If your theology is all Rachel Jankovic or Allie Beth Stuckey or whoever the person is that's your go-to instead of your husband, you're doing him a huge disservice.
Yeah.
Because then you need to be going to your husband and asking those theological questions.
Yeah.
Because not only is that healthy for you and him, but then that pushes your husband to, I need to figure out.
I got to know this kind of stuff.
What is the truth here?
Yeah.
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 So,
my wife asked me that this morning. We were just reading the text, and she's like, "What's a sin that doesn't lead to death? And what's that?" I'm like, and I tried to explain to him, like, let's go ask John MacArthur. Yeah. So I'm looking at all this stuff, see what he has said.
Let me get back to you on that.
I'll get back to you on that one, which is good. Let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about what women should be doing together. These studies, these kind of things. And I think women should serve together.
100%.
And I think when they serve together, when they have a task together to serve, I know for our fellowship, women just love us so much. Like when we have a fellowship meal and stuff like that, it's just sometimes it's just a lot of food. It's well thought out. It's well planned. It's organized. It's taken care of. When someone is ill
or has a baby
in our church, the women just rally.
They get swamped with help.
Yeah, there's going to be meals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We've actually had to, set some parameters around that.
Sure.
Like if a lady has a baby, we're only going to give you a couple.
She don't need food for 6 months.
We're going to give you meals for a couple weeks at the most. If you're sick, it's going to be...
We have to help our wives from being too helpful sometimes.
Exactly. Exactly. And a church our size, there's a lot of this happens.
Sure.
People get ill, whatever.
And we're having a baby every other week.
Bro, something in the water. But I think all that's good. I think that's good things that women should be doing. Serving together, hospitality, serving the body, corporately, serving the body. I'll go ahead and say it. There's things that women can be doing together. So there's a group of ladies that do communion at church, and
prepare it.
They prepare it ahead of time, and then there's some that come and they clean it up afterwards.
Yep.
And they're doing that, and nobody really notices what's happening when that happens. Or the church is getting vacuumed and it's getting cleaned, and it's all this kind of. There's just a service. That's not just women do that, but.
It's the necessary but less seen body parts that Paul talks about in Corinthians that are just as vital as everything else, but they're it's not like the hands, and so it's whatever, but it's all necessary.
Amen. Yeah, and I would just encourage women to have eyes to see those needs and to be participating in those things, and I would encourage women to open their homes, especially older ladies. Look, if you're in your 50s, and you more than likely you're more established in life. You probably have your own home. Maybe you got a few more years on your mortgage or whatever, but you're more established. Those younger ladies, they don't have that. They need a respite.
Well, and our culture makes our culture makes this difficult because if an older woman comes into a younger woman's home to visit or whatever, and she starts cleaning up. That would be a sign of. That would be like an insult. Be like as if the younger lady is not doing her job, but that's not the way it is in other cultures. We've got this idea in America that the help or something like that equals condemning or equals judgment or whatever that case may be. It's pride.
Yeah.
In Ethiopia, they've got a saying that women and priests are never guests.
What's it mean?
Well, if another woman comes in your home, she just instantly starts helping with everything, whether it's child care or cleaning or food prep or anything. She just naturally starts helping with whatever needs to be done. Yeah. And if a priest is there, he's going to just be taking over any spiritual help or responsibility. That's what he does. As a pastor, if you're going over to someone's home, you're not there just to sit, relax, and enjoy yourself.
That's so funny. That reminds me.
There's a discipleship aspect going on.
Austin brought us down to Atlanta there, and we were in an Ethiopian home.
Yeah.
And I was just going for the meal. They were going to do a big meal. Well, because my gray hair and I'm a pastor, they expected me to teach.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, like, what? I'm not ready to teach?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
They're expecting you
funny.
to feed them spiritually because you're a pastor.
Sorry, here's a practical help for ladies. I would encourage you to be inviting people in your home. I would encourage you to invite pairs, more than one.
Sure.
Because when you bring one person into your home, then the potential of awkwardness is there. But if you bring another person there, now you can talk together.
Yeah, three is way easier to.
I would be strategic. If you know that there's a couple ladies in your church that have a friendship, to invite them into your home so there's a friendship, and then you can be part of that.
Yeah.
But utilize your resources, especially that older generation.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge that 50, 60-year-old group, maybe 40s, to be open with your home to younger. By that, I mean early 20s through mid 30s. That group in there, they're probably getting neglected, and just an invite during the week.
Well, and we need to. My whole point of saying that, as far as the way it is in Ethiopia and whatnot, is that we really need to regain a culture of where the older women actually can speak to the problems or the issue or whatever that actually help the younger women.
Yep.
Where it's not seen as being you're judging me or this, that, and the other. This is why we like podcasts, because it's removed. It's not personal.
So I've preached on this topic before, because I think the younger generation are getting wisdom from podcasts, and usually peer group podcasts.
Sure.
Allie Beth Stuckey. Somebody asked today, I saw it on Twitter, they said, who watches Allie Beth Stuckey's kids while she does her podcast? I'm like, ooh.
I call her Allie Beth Moore.
Oh, that stung. But they're getting information from podcasts and YouTube, and that's cold and that's sterile. And it does not, the warm hand of a older woman she's lost a kid. She's had 3 miscarriages. Yep. Her son is, wayward or whatever it is. And she has such a warmth.
Yep.
And when tragedy strikes you, you're going to want that warm hand. And that podcast is not going to comfort you when real life things happen. So cultivate friendship within the church.
So older women need to be willing to speak into the younger women's lives, and the younger women need to be willing to receive it.
Receive it, yes. And they need to be seeking it out. It delights my heart when I have heard, and this has happened, where younger ladies are intentionally seeking out older ladies.
Yep.
And just to spend time, let's go for coffee.
Yep.
Or let's get together. Can I bring my kids over tomorrow? So that's a challenge to young ladies. Reach out to the olders. Older ladies, reach out to the younger.
Yeah.
Foster fellowship. That organic, There we go.
100%.
I don't know if we answered your question. If you want us to clarify something, or if you have, a question that just was generated from this, you can write to us at snakeonthetable@gmail.com, and we would love to bring it on, entertain it.
Let's do it. God bless.